And so every restaurant would have to have not only every special, but everything on their menu listed.
Well,
and it's disproportionately burdensome for smaller restaurants, you know, chef-owned restaurants where they are changing their menu maybe daily or weekly.
They're with it like a handwritten menu at times, or it's a
yeah,
menu
and
up on a chalkboard.
it's probably,
right?
you know, it's probably some person who is working 80 hours a week already, and you know, now we're going to ask them to also do this. Whereas again, you know, you've got a national chain that has basically the same menu at every store across the country. I mean, they're the cost of them having to do that is much less, you know, proportionately than the cost of a small locally owned business having to follow the same regulations.
Well, I mean, let me just kind of push back a little bit. As a consumer, don't I have a right to know about the safety of items that I get in a public conveyance that, you know, at a store?
Absolutely. And I think the best way or possibly a fix to that is that making sure that the wait staff knows exactly what's in everything. So it doesn't necessarily have to be posted, but if there's a special for spaghetti and meatballs, that they know that, you know, there's tomatoes and there's onions, there's basil, so they know what's on there. So if you come in and you're allergic to basil, you can say, is there any basil in the spaghetti? Which would be kind of a ridiculous question, but
well, but I mean, it's a type of question that a consumer will ask all the time to a wait staff, and then I think the frustrating part sometimes is that they don't know,
right?
Because it comes from a can sign a guy, and who knows knows what's in it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
but you can always go to your wait staff, and I think that's a good solution to this. Is that make it so that the wait staff has a list of ingredients that are available, and so, you know, if there's a special or something of that nature, if there's any.
Well, this issue specifically has popped up in St. Paul because there'd been a proposal coming from Councilmember Carter in terms of this type of disclosure, because it's actually been part of state laws. I think New York just had a state law about trans fats and calories specifically, and you're seeing some of these chains beginning to list it. So, I mean, working forward, what is the Alliance suggesting?
Well, at this point, we're still in the data gathering stage of what we will go to our members and say, okay, do you have a solution? Is this going to be a problem? And gather that information so that we can bring that data to the city or to the legislature.
And I just use that as an example of how you had asked, you know, how is it different?
Right.
How are laws and policies different for, you know, small mom and pop shops versus a chain store? And that would be an example of how, you know, a law would be really different.
Right, and I guess another way to look at this would be the role that a government plays when they're trying to bring a corporation into an area for economic development purposes. A lot of times it's more attractive to try to lure a large corporation, typically. Probably not a university, but or you know, like a large organization that has a lot of employees, so you can have a lot of perceived impact, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, so is it the case that that's how a lot of development deals go down?
Yeah, typically a larger corporation will come in and want some tax incentive financing to come in because they say they're going to bring, you know, 35,000 jobs to the area. Well, more often than not, what happens, for example, if it's a hardware store, a large hardware store, those employees that they're taking or that they're getting are being taken from the small independent hardware store. But now you have a larger hardware store in the area, but they now need more parking, they need more roads or larger roads, and so you have to deal with that infrastructure that often gets overlooked when that happens, when they're trying to woo in a larger corporation. And it's those intangibles that are often overlooked. So even though they're saying they're creating more jobs, they're really not.
Yeah.
Let's turn a little bit to the work that you guys do with the Alliance. The Alliance was founded in 2004. Why form the Alliance, and why form it then?
Well, I think it was primarily because we didn't have a voice. Oftentimes when you go to the legislature, there's lobbyists there that are trying to get their point across to our policymakers. And we didn't have a voice, and we were being overlooked. And so in 2004, there were about 12 people that said enough is enough. and we had the American Independent Business Alliance in Denver, and we had them to look to and say, okay, does it make sense for the Twin Cities? And so it was a culmination of, okay, we're tired of status quo, and that we're getting eaten up, so to speak, by the larger people, and we don't have a voice. So that was one of the primary reasons. The other reasons were to stick together and to help each other, because there are certainly best practices that we can all learn from each other.
So then over the course of the last 5 years or so, that dozen people has grown by about 10 or 12-fold, right? I mean, so you've got about 160 members right now. There's a wide variety of local businesses, right? It's not just all coffee shops, even though that's where you guys are from, right? So it's a wide variety of businesses that are involved.
It goes beyond retail. We have architects, lawyers, wholesalers, all different kinds of businesses.
And so then if somebody was watching this and they wanted to get involved, what kind of benefit would they get out of being involved with the Independent Business Alliance?
I think most of our members join because they believe in the work we're doing. They believe in the cause of supporting locally owned businesses and creating an environment where they can thrive. But they do, as a side benefit, I think, get some networking benefits as well, because our members are loyal to each other, and we as an organization strongly encourage consumers and the public to support our member organization. We created a companion website, buylocalmn.com, where all of our members are listed with their addresses and websites.
And again, because people aren't watching television with a pencil and a piece of paper handy, say that website again.
Buylocalmn.com.
And buy, you mean B-U-Y?
B-U-Y, yes.
Yeah, buylocalmn.com.
Right.
Okay.
And so we created that website as a way to support our member businesses. We also have monthly networking events at member businesses. They all kind of take turns hosting a networking event that gives people an opportunity to meet each other, share concerns, questions, exchange business cards. We also have quarterly educational events. We have one currently going on now, Twitter training, because Twitter is becoming so important for business. And so we brought someone in, one of our members, who's a Twitter expert, and he is helping get our members started on Twitter. And then we also have member listservs, so members can speak to each other via email when they have a question, and also a newsletter that goes out once a month. So there's a lot of benefit that they get out of being part of our organization.
And also there's some buying co-ops, so that, let's say if our two coffee shops needed cups, we can buy more of them, and so we get a decreased price. And so there's some buying co-ops that are forming. And
just as we wrap up, we've got a moment or two left. One thing that I think has to be said is that your organization is supporting healthcare reform here in 2009, correct?
Correct.
Then it's because of the effect that has on your members.
It is. It's amazing how, as a locally owned independent business, your premium is going to be about 20% higher simply because you don't have the pool. And because of that pool, the likelihood of your premiums going up are much higher, and also being cut off. And so having the pool all be the state of Minnesota would be a very positive thing for small independent businesses.
Well, fair enough. We've just about run out of time. I really want to thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives and giving people a chance to find out a little bit more about what you do at the Metropolitan Independent Business Alliance.
Thanks for having us.
Mary Hamel is the Executive Director of the Metropolitan Independent Business Alliance. Nancy Breymeier is the president. And if you want more information about what the Alliance does, go to their website. It is www.metroiba.org. The Metropolitan Business Alliance, metroiba.org. Thanks for watching this edition of the St. Paul Forum. For everyone here at SPNN, I'm Mike Wassenaar.